What's going on, everybody, and welcome to 69 Baja Outdoors. My name is George, and this week we are going to continue with the +6 ball joint beam for mud cricket. And recently my wife had surprised me with some awesome t-shirts. I think these are like prototypes. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'm going to try and get something set up with Bonfire here before too long. But at any rate, let's get to it. So I've taken the liberty of marking the beam. This is my center line for the original grub screw. These marks are my 2-inch marks. This is what's going to be removed. And this is where the new, well, not new, but I need to take these off and slide them down 3 inches. And that is my 3-inch mark from the edge of this. And one of the things that I found out is that these are not centered. It's a factory beam. I don't know if it was a screw up, but they are literally 3/16 of an inch closer on one side than it is on the other. So I'm just going to put them in my jig and we're going to send it. So this is what the end result kind of will look like. These are going to be cut here. We're removing this 2 inches and we're going to widen it. This is an overall of 8 inches. Once these are spread open and these in place, it'll be a 6-inch wider beam. So I did get these machined on the lathe. Obviously, you guys saw me doing that. And they don't look that great. So we're going to get these cleaned up and everything ready to go. Don't forget, you've got to bevel your edges. I think these are pretty much already beveled a little bit. That's probably good enough, I think. These welds here, this one doesn't look so bad, but there's some of them that are just not up to par. This one's not bad. I think it's this one that I noticed. I'm trying to look at this through the camera and it's, there it is, there it is. See the spot there where it's not even touching? So I'm going to hit these. I'm going to hit these with the TIG welder and just basically blend these in really good before I do all my other stuff. So let's get to it. So now that we're waiting for the beam to cool off, we're going to go ahead and get these 4-inch center pieces attached to the adjusters. And let me show you that real quick. So what we've done is we have clamped the 4-inch center piece into this angle off of my beam jig. We're going to set the adjuster because it's the same, basically the same size as this, and we're going to center that just like so. I am going to put 3 pieces of cardstock under it because that's the shim that it needs, because it's actually larger. The beam is actually larger than the outside diameter of these. So we're going to use that centerpiece as a guide and just kind of, I mean, I probably could just butt it up against it. These were in the lathe, so we know they're straight. I probably could just turn that down, hold them there and tack them in place, but I don't know if you can see the height difference. So, I mean, you can see there's a little bit of play in that. But if I butt them up, I don't know which way I'm going to do it, but maybe I'll just butt them up against it because I know they're true, so we'll let it fly. So I forgot to do this on the inside. but make sure that you spray this with an anti-spatter. It will stop the little slag balls from sticking everywhere. I wanted to put a rag in there, but I'm terrified the rag is going to catch fire, so I'll just have to deal with it if they get stuck on there. But we're going to send it. I have been going over way too many things on how this beam is going to turn out. Way too many times measuring, and I think we're just going to chop it up and hope for the best. So now that we have this apart, we need to clean the excess, and we're going to use an old spring from a front torsion. Basically just get in there and, oh yeah, just get all that out of there. Look at that. Yummy. That grease is probably 50 years old, if not worse. So something that I did not take into consideration when I built this jig. This was the available piece of scrap angle that I had left over. And these right here on the outside edges are my +6 marks. And unfortunately, by bolting them in here, it pulls this way and allows the whole beam to pull back. So this is not necessarily trash, but I can't use it for this beam unless I were to pull these off and remount them where I need them, which maybe that's the way I should go. But I don't know, shit. So I decided to cut these off. The beam is welded, so I wasn't too concerned about these moving because they are going to be clamped down in the jig. But one thing I have, well, I've gouged that one pretty good along with this one. You can't really see it there. So I'll have to put some filler in there, weld it, and then grind it smooth. But I don't recall ever seeing those plastic plugs in there like that. But what I wanted to tell you is that you can see where the spot welds were holding this thing together. And I've already sandblasted these, but those are the spot welds. And you can easily see them. Whoop, sorry. Maybe not on that one. This one. They have little indents on them. Not sure what that number 2 is. Weld covered that one. And then this one is pretty visible as well. But this was on here like so. And we're going to move that 3 inches. I'm not going to tack them down yet, but I am going to bolt these up in the jig like this. And they should be good. After I take care of this, clean this up, weld these, get them ground nice and clean. I did pound on it quite a bit. My accuracy is lacking these days, but we're going to send it. This is my beam. It's not a customer's beam, so I'm not too concerned with it. But yeah, I guess I should have used a punch. I could have done that, but hindsight's 20/20, guys. So these are filled. That one will be all right. But anyway, those are filled, and we're going to grind these down. I got the plugs out. They were plastic plugs. I have no idea what they were for. I don't ever recall seeing them on any other beam. So if you guys know, let me know in the comments. Let's get these ground down. So we had a couple of other little tiny spots that needed to be brazed, and a couple spots that didn't come out so well. We just kind of went over it with the TIG welder to blend it together. Once it's cleaned up, should be able to see it. So one of the things that I've done is I've filled up all of those pock marks or the rust that was inside the factory tube. I've filled that with brass. It was not deep enough where I feel that it's structural, but I did fill it with brass, and then I have no issue filling the rest of this, you know, all these little divots and stuff. Well, that's still a little warm. I have no issue filling the rest of these divots and stuff with some spot filler. But the other thing I wanted to show you, I have these punch marks here, and these are where this is going to sit. It was over here 3 inches ahead, and when I mark those out, this way when I do sandblast this or I polish it with the sandpaper, I do not lose my corner marks. And I've done the same on the other side as well. So we've got this set up. These are welded off. I did weld off the corners that were looking pretty crappy. They were the only two that I felt that I needed to work on. The other two, well, the others seem to be okay. All the other ones, I didn't want to do the outside one until after we get this welded off. I'm going to hit this one here. But one of the things that I need to do is we can't set this in here flat because of the weld. And granted, there isn't much there, but it's enough. So what I've done, on this one is I've marked these lines at 90 degrees. And we need to grind off the weld a little bit on each side so that they will sit flat when they're in there. So we're going to do that right now. I got this thing up in the jig. I started taking some measurements, and if you remember at the beginning of the video, or somewhere in the beginning of this video, I said that the centers were not centered, and I took all my measurements off of center, so I'm actually 1/8 of an inch longer on this side than I am this side. Man, I hope I explained this properly, because this beam is going to have 4 individual spring torsions, and it does take 4 stock torsion packs to create those, because basically you're cutting them off a couple inches past center on this side, a couple inches past center on this side. But the end result, if I take 1/8 of an inch off of this side, I'm afraid that it's going to cause me issues with my seals on the ends. Now, a little bit is okay. I don't know, 1/8 of an inch, man, that's quite a bit. But I do need to center them up. So what I've got going on, I have measured the ends. I am 1/2 an inch past the plate, and I've got magnet. I do have 16 and 9/16 to center. And on this one, I've got 16 and 11/16 to center. Well, not now, because this one, I actually loosened this one up. To pull it out of here, because what I'm going to do, we're going to slide this one out, And we're going to take off, we're going to true these because they're actually not cut very straight. But anyway, we're going to cut these off, true them up 1/8 of an inch, get them beveled again, and we're going to go from there. Now, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this or not, but I use cardstock. I have quite a bit of this floating around the shop. So the cardstock, if you roll this around, well, first of all, you got to get your support out of the way. But if I can get this right on the edge, like so, that will give you a perfect. So I'm tight on this side right here, and I'm loose on this side. So what we're going to do is put a mark on here with a Sharpie so I can actually grind that off, and that will ensure that it's trued up, or at least that's what I'm hoping. So that is now a true line. But you got to make sure your cardstock is end to end. That one actually looks pretty good. So I think I'm just going to basically take the flapper wheel and reface this and then bevel it. This one I have to true up because I'm high on this side right here. And then I can re-bevel it. And so that's the plan. So I do have this one clamped in here, and we are going to be utilizing, there's the scribe mark for my center of my grub screw. You can see it right there, barely, I think you can see it. There it is right there. And we're gonna line that up with the base of this right here on both sides. So, but what I found out, one of these brackets was mounted 1/16 of an inch off center. Now, I know that these pieces are machined. These are actually installed, but I was measuring from center of this hole, and it's 1/16 of an inch off, which was kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It was a compounding issue because 1/16 here, at any rate, we're going to run it. I can run with 1/16 of an inch off. I don't have an issue with that at all. But this one's going to run in the same spot. We've got a little bit of play. Everything's ground on the backside. As you can see, they're pretty smooth where they need to be. Maybe a hair. I probably could have taken a little more off, but again, this isn't rocket science, so, but it does need to be pretty damn close. And I'd say within 1/16 is, well, that's not really close, but we're going to send it anyway. But it centers up on the tubes nicely, and we're ready to go. All right, moment of truth, I guess. We're going to start tacking this together. I did put some 2x4s on here to kind of stand it up. I'm actually thinking about mounting a 45 on there so it will actually all sit flat. So the beam's welded off. I do still need to do a little grinding and a little TIG welding around it just to kind of clean it up a little bit. Some of the areas are pretty thin, and I want to make sure I've got good penetration without getting too much penetration, because if I blow through it, well, then I have other issues on the inside to clean up. So with that being said, I think this part 3 is pretty much complete. I do need to do a lot of cleanup. And I still need to put on steering stabilizer bracket and our pitman arm stops. So that'll be next. I do need to get the bearing. Once this is all cooled off, I'm going to get the bearings installed. And then we're on to trailing arms and ball joints, because the height of my shocks, they're 24 and 5/8 or 24 and 7/8, whatever they are. They're 24 and change. They're a lot longer than stock, obviously, by about, I want to say 8 inches. So I'm still on the fence whether or not I'm going to go with clearance ball joints or if I'm going to stay with stock ball joints. Mud Cricket is mostly a pavement princess, and well, you know how that goes. So, but the occasional trail, I mean, I'm going to send it. So I want to make sure that the clearance ball joints are strong enough to handle anything I can dish out to this thing. And I kind of have to have the ball joints because that's going to determine my total travel, or the ball joints basically. And I'll explain that in our next part. So until then, y'all be good to one another, and we'll catch y'all on the flip side.